Welcome. Give it up for the Mad Doctor Adega Outlaw! Light the fires with Snow Loki! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 7 Kinds of Mischief! Yeah, I love getting fired up before a show. That doesn't fire you up.
Okay, I gotta ask, did anybody in the audience hear any of that? I heard your voice, but there was no sound of the clip.
Really?
Yep,
Oh, you mean the music?
no music.
Oh yeah, I was there. I heard it. I was listening to it. I don't know why you
Alright.
couldn't hear it. It's been going on since they did the recording update thing. So what'll happen is I don't know why it's in your settings. Give me just a second. I'll tell you what it is.
But
If you
I
go
didn't hear it
down
on
to
YouTube either.
if you go down to really,
I don't really.
Chris Persia said he heard it all.
I
Classic
know.
Comics heard it. That's weird. So I've got my green room setting off, which means that broadcast doesn't record separately for you. But for whatever reason, ever since they made that addition, some people can't hear when it's going on. They can't hear it. They can't see the video. They don't get included in something. They're just like, why is everybody silent? No one's saying anything.
Yay!
I
No,
don't
but I
know
didn't have it on
why.
YouTube either, so I don't know what it was.
It's one of the reasons why I want to ditch StreamYards now and go with the other one.
Well, we'll back you regardless.
So, well, that's going to happen around July because that's when my contract with StreamYards is up. So I've got a year contract with StreamYards. When that's up, I will be moving, ladies and gentlemen, to a different studio. So I know everybody likes to use StreamYards, but we're gonna move up a little bit in the world. So
it's what you call demanding excellence.
Yeah, I don't want problems with production, and they can't even add the comments in here. They can't even add the member comments. That really ticks me off. I want my member comments on. I want to be able to see that. I want to be able to highlight that, and they can't even add that. So, yeah.
Well,
good evening, everybody. Good evening. We kind of went off on a thing there.
But, it's my fault. Sorry.
No, it's good. It's all good. So, obviously, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be reading stories from the Brothers Grimm, complete fairy tales tonight. But what in the world does Adega Outlaw have for us tonight?
Before I start, I did want to say thank you. It's getting a good response. Last week, when I try not to bug Loki during the week because I know he's inundated often. But last week I asked him after the show. I said I need to make a new trailer for my YouTube channel just because it's outdated, and he gave me an idea, and people are loving it. So thank you very much. All right.
You're welcome. I'm glad it worked.
I appreciate it very much. Um, it was about a year and a half ago. Those people who have been here for a while know I had done some brief things about the Illuminati, different aspects of it. But there was one where I read a story of an eyewitness, someone who was in it, the lady that had been put in the animal cages, and the cats and dogs would get petted before she would. It was training her to be submissive and less than a dog and help split-minded. And at the time, I told you I have several different biographies of these different people who said, and some of them were accurate and some of them were false. Tonight, I wanted to go over one that was false. There are parts of his story that are correct, and other parts where when you hear it, you're going to go, no, this guy's was off his rocker. The problem here is, how did he get off his rocker? Was this abuse within the system? Was it child abuse? Was it brain damage from birth? I don't know. But how he knew certain things and he got certain things so far wrong, that's anyone's guess. But I'm going to read to you a story. His part of it is what he says uh, happened, and others is what is true. This is an old document, so you kind of have to bear with me. This is from, oh gosh, it's been 4, 5 decades. Anyway, the guy's name is John Todd, and he claimed he was Illuminati high priest, Grand Druid on the Grand Druid Council member, um, born into the prominent Collins Illuminati bloodline. That part is true, and defected after seeing the Illuminati plan for the New World Order, culminating in 1980 with the installment of Jimmy Carter as the Antichrist. Now, there you could start hearing some things that just quite aren't right. Jimmy Carter never had the brains to pick a peanut, let alone anything else. All right. John Todd was born in the Collins Illuminati bloodline in 1949. The Collins had brought the Illuminati to America and had been practicing witchcraft for over 7 centuries. Most of that is correct. Some Collins opted to change their family names to Todd around 50 years ago, which is also correct. At the age of 13, Todd was taken to a Hogwarts like school called the Outer Court. I have no idea if this is true. A specialized Illuminati school of witchcraft where he received training as an Illuminati priest. He was ordained an Illuminati high priest at the age of 18. They don't become high priests at 18. It takes them longer than that. And as a male, Collins took his place at the Grand Druid Council. At one time, he had more than 65,000 witches taking orders from him, which I sincerely doubt. His sister climbed in the Illuminati ladder a lot quicker, which is probably true. It tends to be more matriarchal than anything. By the age of 13, she was already a high priestess and queen of Ohio, with 15,000 witches serving under her. She was mostly occupied with summoning of demons that appeared to be UFO sightings as part of the Illuminati plan. That's a mixed bag there. Again, this is half of it is probably true, half of it is embellishment or just him nuts. Todd joined the Army and fought with the U.S. Special Forces in Vietnam before, this is what he said, before being involved in the death of a superior officer and sentenced to 35 years imprisonment. Fortunately, a U.S. Senator, a congressman, and 2 generals personally escorted Todd out of the prison and had the building containing his army records burnt down to hide the existence of the Illuminati. In reality, Todd's army records were not destroyed. They showed that he had been a general clerk and a therapist, or a typist, and that he had never set foot in Vietnam. Todd was dishonorably discharged for being emotionally unstable and a pathological liar. Anyone knows with the government, this could be absolutely true the way they told the story. This guy could be nuts. And the other thing is, he could have been subject to a cover up. Don't know. I believe he was probably just a liar at this point. It is then that Todd realized that he wasn't just playing with candles and learned that everything he had previously learned on witchcraft was false. He was assigned the position of managing Z Records, a non-existent record company. So he tells everybody he was part of Z Records. Todd produced rock music in order to lead a new generation to Satan. He explained how each rock music album sold included a demon summoning during a secret Illuminati ritual. The more albums someone owns, the more demons inhabited his house. All major studios have a satanic temple built for such purposes. All rock stars are witches and must learn which language secret code words in which songs are written in that have different meanings to the initiated. Partially true. I would say only about 30% of that was correct. Occult authors such as C.S. Lewis, and see, here's another where he calls them a cult, and you guys will know that this is another clear falsehood. J.R.R. Tolkien similarly summoned demons into each copy of their book so that children would be guided towards Satan. Of course, we know that's just the absolute opposite. They also owned most televangelists such as Billy Graham and Pat Robinson. That's a 50-50 there. They paid Jerry Falwell $50 million to join the cause. Don't know. Maybe. The four members of the Beatles are four major satanic prophets, with their White album considered to be Book of Revelations to witches. Charles Manson was sent to prison in order to organize inmates across the U.S. prisons for the Helter Skelter, the day when Manson and 200,000 soldiers would escape prison and slaughter Christians across the United States and white people. Some of that's true as well. Christian rock music is also a gateway to Satan with the Druidic inspired drum beats. So are astrology, jewelry, tarot cards, regular playing cards, role playing games, and Ouija boards. Um, Partially true, maybe about 20% of that. Here we go. Star Wars was considered a major hit for the Illuminati. You guys will hear the falsehoods in this one up and down. All actors were initiated witches and picked from the cast of the Young and the Restless soap opera. All actors on soap operas must also be witches. He also claims that the supernatural 60s soap opera Dark Shadows was based on the Collins family diaries, which he provided. And that actually is true. Atlas Shrugged. Here's another one with a big whopper where he lied because you'll hear it. Atlas Shrugged is the Illuminati blueprint for the New World Order, which is the Illuminati referred to as the conspiracy or the Great Conspiracy. Using the word Illuminati in public is punishable by death, a fate that Todd has managed to escape. The book was commissioned in 1966 by Philippe de Rothschild and written by his paramour, Anne Rand. They added juicy sex scenes to the book in order to keep decent Christians from reading it and discovering their secret plans. That was according to Todd. Any of you who know the story know that that was one big fat whopper. He claimed that fans of Atlas Shrugged are communist. Again, this is the author of this article. It says, at this point, anyone who has read the book should question if he had done so himself. All right. This one is difficult because it talks about the Necronomicon, and there is a Necronomicon. Okay, the Necronomicon, a fictional grimoire from H.P. Lovecraft, equally fictional universe, is actually a sacred witch's Bible, and there is a Necronomicon. Even though the author here of this didn't understand that. Todd claims to have seen word for word pages from the Necronomicon in the Book of Mormon, which again is not true. In 1972, documents received via the U.S. State Department, a diplomat pouched directly from the Rothschild Tribunal, convinced Todd that he had to leave the Illuminati. No one leaves the Illuminati. You are either disappeared or publicly die of some strange disease, usually a plane crash or a self-inflicted double shot to the head, suicide. One document detailed an 8-year plan for total control of the world, minus China, which would be totally wiped out. It also included a letter from the Rothschilds saying that they had found their man and believed to have found the Antichrist, and he thought it was Jimmy Carter. Um, I'm debating whether or not I want to go on to the rest of this. Upon discovering Todd's defection, the Illuminati immediately put out a bounty on his head. He would have been done. However, Todd was now protected by Jesus Christ and survived multiple attempts on his life. Obviously, he has lost his mind at this point, including escaping unarmed from an exploding building. Excuse me. The Illuminati is directly controlled by Lucifer. Under Lucifer is the Rothschild Tribunal, to which he directly gives his orders. The all seeing eye on the US dollar bill represents Lucifer, while the capstone represents the Rothschilds. The Rothschilds are not humans, they are the sons and daughters of Lucifer and are controlling or considered gods among the Illuminati. The Rothschilds Tribunal gives its orders to the Council of 13, aka the Grand Druidic Council. Um, a lot of that is hooey. Some of it was the Rothschilds are not good people, and they are part of a secret organization. But that's a mixed bag there. I think I'm done with this guy's lies. Yeah, the rest of it talks about him being. Uh, More and more of it as his life went on, it became more and more implausible. His dementia really started to kick in, so we're just gonna end it there. But that's the thing. There, and I did this mostly for the purposes that there are things out there that you're going to hear and and things that I brought up that are plausible, probable, and do exist. And when you take a figurehead like this guy who knows bits and pieces and embellishes it, be wary to know that just because they know one or two bits of truth, that the 80 other things that they present don't have to be true. So he was a nutcase. Um, a nutcase with a little bit of inspiration from stories or what have you, maybe even from his own family, because the Collins family did have some problems. Um, so that much was true. But eventually, I'll get on to some of the other ones. There's another lady I almost did tonight. She's not quite as weird as this guy, but she does have some whoppers. And then I'll get on to some other true ones too. There's the one lady in Australia that eventually I want to come back to her again and tell her full story. But anyway, that's what I have for you tonight.
All right. Chris says he might as well have came from the future while he was at it.
Well, some of these old conspiracy theories that you hear from some of these wackos, the sad thing is um, darn it if they aren't coming true. But
Oh yeah.
obviously this one was not one of them.
I can hear it right now. You gotta come back with me, Marty. All right.
Exactly.
All right. And thank you, Michelle. I cannot pull my email up on this computer, but I will after I am done. I have a broadcasting computer that I do not have my email hooked up to at the moment, and I have my personal computer that everything is hooked up on and that I produce videos with. So I will definitely check that out as soon as we are done with this story. I think everyone knows this story, so it'll be interesting because I've never actually ever read the um, the original Brothers Grimm fairy tale for this. So, without further ado, this is going to take at least a couple of pages to do this one. So we should
It's all right.
a good 20-25 minutes here.
We
Near a great forest dwelt a poor woodcutter with his wife and his two children. The boy was called Hansel and the girl Gretel. He had little to bite and to break, and when great scarcity fell on the land, he could no longer procure daily bread. Now, when he thought over this at night in his bed and tossed about in his anxiety, he groaned and said to his wife, "What is to become of us? How are we to feed our poor children when we no longer have anything, even for ourselves?" I'll tell you what, husband, answered the woman. Early tomorrow morning, we will take the children out into the forest where it is the thickest. There we will light a fire for them and give each of them one piece of bread. And then when we will go to work and leave them alone, they will not find their way home again, and we shall be rid of them for good. Holy shit. Ain't that something?
What a mother. It's
Ugh.
worse than monkeys.
No, wife, said the man, I will not do that. How can I bear to leave my children alone in the forest? The wild animals would soon come and tear them to pieces. Oh, you fool, she said. Then we must all four die of hunger. You may as well plane the planks for our coffins. And she left him no peace until he consented. They always leave that. I guess they always leave that part out.
Yeah, I think the wife would have had two pieces of bread out in the forest.
But I feel very sorry for the poor children all the same, said the man. The two children had also not been able to sleep for hunger and had heard what their stepmother, oh, it's their stepmother, that makes perfect sense, had said to their father. Gretel wept bitter tears and said to Hansel, now all is over for us. Hush, Gretel, said Hansel. Do not distress yourself. I will soon find a way to help us. And when the old folks had fallen asleep, he got up, put on his little coat, opened the door below, and crept outside. The moon shone brightly, and the white pebbles which lay in front of the house glittered like real silver pennies. Hansel stooped and put as many of them in the little pocket of his coat as he could possibly get. Then he went back and said to Gretel, be comforted, dear little sister, and sleep in peace. God will not forsaken us. And he lay down again in his bed. When day dawned, not before the sun had risen, the woman came and awoke the two children, saying, get up, you sluggards. We are going into the forest to fetch wood. She gave each a little piece of bread and said, there is something for your dinner, but do not eat it up before then, for you will get nothing else. Gretel took the bread under her apron, as Hansel had the stones in his pocket. Then they all set out together via the way to the forest. When they had walked a short time, Hansel stood still and peeped back at the house and did so again and again. His father said, Hansel, what are you looking at there and staying behind for? Mind yourself, and do not forget how to use your legs. Ah, father, said Hansel, I am looking at my little white cat, which is sitting up on the roof and wants to say goodbye to me. The wife said, fool, this is not your little cat. That is the morning sun which is shining on the chimneys. Hansel, however, had not been looking back at the cat, but had been constantly throwing one of the white pebble stones out of his pocket on the road. When they had reached the middle of the forest, the father said, now, children, pile up some wood, and I will light a fire that you may not be cold. Hansel and Gretel gathered brushwood together as high as a little hill. The brushwood was lightened, and when the flames were burning very high, the woman said, now, children, lay yourselves down by the fire and rest. We will go into the forest and cut wood. When we have done, we will come back and fetch you. Hansel and Gretel sat by the fire, and when noon came, each ate a little piece of bread. And as they heard the strokes of the wood axe, they believed that their father was near. It was not, however, the axe. It was a branch which he had fastened to a withered tree, which the wind was blowing backwards and forwards. And as they had been sitting such a long time, their eyes shut with fatigue, they fell fast asleep. When at last they awoke, it was already dark night. Gretel began to cry and said, how are we to get out of this forest now? But Hansel comforted her and said, just wait a little until the moon is risen, and then we will soon find the way. And when the full moon had risen, Hansel took his little sister by the hand and followed the pebbles, which shone like newly coined silver pieces, and showed them the way. They walked the whole night, and by break of day came once more to their father's house. They knocked at the door, and when the woman opened it and saw that it was Hansel and Gretel, she said, You naughty children, why have you slept so long in the forest? We thought you were never coming back to us at all. The father, however, rejoiced, for it had cut him to the heart to leave them behind alone. Not long afterwards, there was one more great scarcity in all parts, and the children heard their mother saying at night to their father, "Everything is eaten again. We have one half loaf left, and after that, there is no more. The children must go. We will take them further into the woods, so that they will not find their way out again. There's no other means of saving ourselves." The man's heart was heavy, and he thought it would be better for you to share the last mouthful with the children. The woman, however, would not listen to anything that he had to say, but scolded and reproached him. He who says A must say B. Likewise, and as he had yielded the first time, he had to do so a second time. The children were, however, still awake and had heard the conversation. When the old folks were asleep, Hansel again got up and wanted to go out and pick up pebbles as he had done before. But the woman had locked the door, and Hansel could not get out. Nevertheless, he comforted his little sister and said, "Do not cry, Gretel. Go to sleep quickly. The good God will help us." Early in the morning came the woman and took the children out of their beds. Their bit of bread was given to them, but it was still smaller than the time before. On the way into the forest, Hansel crumbled his in his pocket and often stood still and threw a morsel on the ground. "Hansel, why do you stop and look around?" said his father. "Go on. I'm looking back at my little pigeon, which is sitting on the roof and wants to say goodbye to me." "Simpleton," said the woman, "that is not your little pigeon. That is the morning sun that is shining on the chimney." Hansel, however, little by little, threw all the crumbs on the path. The woman led the children still deeper into the forest, where they had never in their lives been before. Then a great fire was again made, and the mother said, "Just sit here, you children, and when you are tired, you may sleep a little. We are going into the forest to cut wood, and in the evening, when we are done, we will come and fetch you." When it was noon, Gretel shared her piece of bread with Hansel, who had scattered his by the way. Then they fell asleep, and evening came and went, but no one came to the poor children. They did not awake until it was dark again. And Hansel comforted his little sister and said, "Just wait, Gretel, until the moon rises, and then we shall see the crumbs of bread which I have strewn about. They will show us our way home again." When the moon came, they set out, but they found no crumbs, for the many thousands of birds which flew about in the woods and fields had picked them all up. Hansel said to Gretel, "We shall soon find the way." But they did not find it. They walked the whole night and all the next day, from morning till evening. They did not get out of the forest and were very hungry. They had nothing to eat but two of their berries, which grew on the ground. And as they were so weary that their legs would carry them no longer, they lay down beneath a tree and fell asleep. It was now 3 mornings since they had left their father's house. They began to walk again. They always got deeper into the forest, and if help did not come soon, they would die of hunger and weariness. When it was midday, they saw a beautiful snow white bird sitting on a bough, which sang so delightfully that they stood still and listened to it. And when it had finished its song, it spread its wings and flew away before them, and they followed until they reached a little house, on the roof of which it alighted. And when they came quite up to the little house, they saw that it was built of bread and covered with cakes, but that the windows were clear sugar. "We will set to work on that," said Hansel, "and have a good meal. I will eat a bit of the roof, and you, Gretel, can eat some of the window. It will taste sweet." Hansel reached up above and broke off a little of the roof to try how it tasted, and Gretel leaned against the window and nibbled at the panes. Then a soft voice cried from the room, "Nibble, nibble, gnaw. Who is nibbling at my little house?" The children answered, the wind, the heaven-born wind," and went on eating without disturbing themselves. Hansel, who thought the roof tasted very nice, tore down a great piece of it and Gretel pushed out the whole of one round window pane, sat down, and enjoyed herself with it. Suddenly, the door opened, and a very, very old woman who supported herself on crutches came creeping out. Hansel and Gretel were so terribly frightened that they let fall what they had in their hands. The old woman, however, nodded her head and said, "Oh, you dear children, who has brought you here? Do come in and stay with me. No harm shall come to you." She took them both by the hand and led them into her little house. Then good food was set before them, milk and pancakes with sugar, apples, and nuts. Afterwards, two pretty little beds were covered with clean white linen. Hansel and Gretel lay down in them and thought they were in heaven. The old woman only pretended, though, to be so kind. She was, in reality, a wicked witch who lay in wait for children and only built the little house of bread in order to entice them there. When the children fell into her power, she killed it, cooked, and ate it, and that was a feast day with her. Witches have red eyes and cannot see far. They have keen scent like the beasts, and they are aware when human beings draw near. Hansel and Gretel came into her neighborhood. She laughed maliciously and said mockingly, "I have them. They shall not escape me." Early in the morning, before the children were awake, she was already up, and when she saw both of them sleeping and looking so pretty with their plump red cheeks, she muttered to himself, "That will be a dainty mouthful." Then she seized Hansel with her shriveled hand, carried him into a little stable, and shut him in with a grated door. He might scream as he liked. That was of no use. Then she went to Gretel, shook her till she awoke, and cried, "Get up, lazy thing, fetch water, and cook something good for your brother. He is in the stable outside and is to be made fat. When he is fat, I will eat him." Gretel began to weep bitterly, but it was all in vain. She was forced to do what the wicked witch ordered her. And now the best food was cooked for poor Hansel, but Gretel got nothing but crab shells. Every morning the woman crept to the little stable and cried, "Hansel, stretch out your finger that I may feel you and will soon be fat." Hansel, however, stretched out a little bone to her, and the old woman, who had dim eyes, could not see it, and thought it was Hansel's finger, and was astonished that there was no way of fattening him. When 4 weeks had gone by and Hansel still stayed thin, she was seized with impatience and would not wait any longer. "Now, Gretel," she cried to the girl, "be active and bring some water. Let Hansel be fat or lean. Tomorrow I will cook him." Ah, how the poor little sister did lament when she had to fetch the water, and how her tears did flow down over her cheeks. "Dear God, do help us," she cried. "If the wild beasts in the forest had devoured us, at least we should have died together." "Just keep your noise to yourself," said the old woman. "All that won't help you at all." Early in the morning, Gretel had to go out and hang up the cauldron with the water and light the fire. "We will bake first," said the old woman. "I've already heated the oven and kneaded the dough." She pushed poor Gretel out of the oven, from which flames of fire were already dancing. "Creep in," said the witch, "and see if it is properly heated, so that we can shut the bread in." And once Gretel was inside, she intended to shut the oven and let her bake inside of it. Then she would eat her too. But Gretel saw what she had in her mind and said, "I do not know how I'm to do it. How do you get in the oven?" "Silly goose," said the old woman. "The door is big enough. Just look, I can get in it myself." And she crept up and thrust her head into the oven. Then Gretel gave her a little push that drove her far into it, and shut the iron door and fastened the bolt. "Oh!" Then she began to howl quite horribly. But Gretel ran away, and the godless witch was miserably burnt to death. Gretel, however, ran like lightning to Hansel, opened his little stable, and cried, "Hansel, we are saved. The old witch is dead." Then Hansel sprang out like a bird from its cage when the door was opened for him. How they did rejoice and embrace each other and dance about and kiss each other. And as they had no longer any need for her, they went into the witch's house, and in every corner there stood chests full of pearls and jewels. "These are far better than pebbles," said Hansel, and thrust into his pockets whatever he could get. And Gretel said, "I too will take something home with me," and filled her pinafore full. "But now we will go away," said Hansel, "that we may get out of the witch's forest." When they had walked for 2 hours, they came to a great body of water. "We cannot get over," said Hansel. "I see no foot plank, no bridge, and no boat crosses either," answered Gretel. "But a white duck is swimming there. If I ask her, she will help us over." Little duck, do you see? Hansel and Gretel are waiting for you. There's never a plank or bridge in sight. Take us across your back, so white." The duck came to them, and Hansel seated himself on its back and told his sister to sit by him. "No," replied Gretel, "that will be too heavy for the little duck. She shall take us across one after the other." The good little duck did too. And when they were safely across and had walked for a short time, the forest seemed to be more and more familiar to them, and at length they saw from afar their father's house. Then they began to run, rushed into the parlor, and threw themselves into their father's arms. The man had not known one happy hour since he had left the children in the forest. The woman, however, was dead. Gretel emptied her pinafore until the pearls and precious stones ran about the room, and Hansel threw one handful after another out of his pocket to add to it. Then all anxiety was at an end, and they lived together in perfect happiness. My tale is done. See the mouse run. Whoever catches it may make himself a big fur cap out of it. I want to know what happened to the mom. Did the old man like get so pissed off that he took care of her? Did he take her out?
I'm sure that's what it was. But who knows? Maybe she choked on a piece of bread.
So who knows? Who knows? Thank you, Lady Mist. Thank you, Psychodorf Mom. Stepmom for whacked. Yeah, stepmom got whacked. Who knows? Maybe she was the witch. Maybe she was the witch, Mark. Who knows? ZBR, what is up? Hail, my brother. Hail, brightest day. Good evening, everybody. I hope you are all doing well. That was Hansel and Gretel, the actual Grimm's fairy tale version of Hansel and Gretel. So
From the very
let's see what
beginning.
I know we've got Rapunzel in here.
There's a few people that said hi. Hi to the entire chat, but specifically, let's see. Saj, I use my iPad most of the time when I'm watching Loki shows and I'm trying to tap things out. And for the life of me, I can't get the icon for your name. So just assume I'm saying hi to you.
Let's
Everybody
see.
else as well. I'm not a very good typist. I do the two
The
finger tango.
the wonderful musician, Pack of Ragamuffins, Rapunzel, Three Little Men in the Woods. I don't know if
I
that's
know
supposed
that
to mean
one.
Three Little Pigs. Three Snake Leaves, the White Snake. Ooh, White Snake. I wonder if that has anything to do with the band White Snake.
We'll find
I
out.
doubt it. The Fisherman and His Wife,
Know that
The
one.
Valiant Little Tailor, Cinderella. Wow, Cinderella, night and day. It's Cinderella. The Riddle, The Mouse, the Bird, and the Sausage. The Seven Ravens, Little Red Cap.
Know that one.
The Devil with the Three Golden Hairs. The
Sounds familiar,
Luis
but
and the
not sure.
Flea. Louis, Louse and the Flea.
Yep.
Girl Without Hands, Clever Hans, The Three Languages, Clever Elsie, The Tailor in Heaven, Wishing Table, The Golden Ass, and The Crudgel in the Sack. Thumbling. I don't think that's some Thumbelina. I think it's just Thumbling. The Wedding of Mrs. Fox, The Elves, The Robber Bridgegrum, Mr. Corbs, The Godfather. Can't wait to read that. Godfather of Death. Wow. Frau Trude. Bumbling's Travel. Fowler's Fowl, Jupiter Tree, Old Sultan, 6-1, Sleeping Beauty, Briar Rose, Fledgling, King Thrushbeard, Little Snow White, Rumpelstiltskin,
One of my
the
favorites.
Dog and the Sparrow. Yeah, Rumpelstiltskin. Oh, yeah. Queen Bee, the Three Feathers, the Golden Goose. Man, we've got so many stories.
All right.
I'm not even into I'm not even past the hundreds. I'm not even into the hundreds yet. So, I mean, as far as I'm seeing here, there's 600 pages here, over 600 pages. So,
Okay. Some weeks you'll probably do 2 or 3 because I'm sure some of them are quite short.
I will try. Yeah, pull your finger. Yeah, Rumpelstiltskin was in DS9. That's right. White Snack. Yes. The 3 Snake Leaves. Okay, so apparently that's somebody's favorite. Little Red Riding Hood. No, I don't think I've read Little Red Riding Hood yet, but I've read what was supposed to be the 3 Little Pigs, but it's not the 3 Little Pigs. It's different. But it's the wolf in the woods. So
Yeah. Well, things have changed since then, so. And I don't know where they got their inspiration for these either.
So, oh yeah, I'm sure it's Folktales.
Yeah.
Folktales, yeah. All right. Thank you guys so very much for did you say the Golden Deuce? Sounds like a long night with Goldschlager. Oh, gold.
Gold, remember?
Gold.
I like gold.
An unfortunate smelting accident. Oh, guys, take care. Be excellent to each other. Always speak friend to enter. And we will see you guys next time on 7 Kinds of Mischief. For me and Adega, take care, everybody.
Have a great week.
These videos are tremendous. Like, comment, and subscribe, and hammer that notification bell.